I had this dream. I'm not gonna go too into it, but basically it was like a dream that like shook me to my core because it like showed me that I had an assignment and a gift that God gave me to do here on my time on earth, and if I didn't do it, like there was gonna be bad consequences to put it nicely. So that kind of just like was what shifted. And then when I sat down in my studio to try to like write something Christian, like my keyboard stops working and then my jaw stops working. Yo!
Nerds.
Zanah, thank you so much for Zanah. Thank you so much for coming on our show today. For all the viewers here, you know, it's very nostalgic. We're in the old studio here, big throwback Thursday. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. And for those who don't really know you, do you want to give us a little background on who you are? And then we'll dive into all the detail.
Yeah, I'm Zanah. Sorry, wait. Do you want me to look there when I'm introducing
myself? You just look at us. It doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm Zanah. I am a singer primarily, but I'm also an audio engineer and producer. And yeah, that's pretty much who I am.
David, be careful.
She's being humble. Yeah, she might take your spot. Exactly. But no, she's being humble, I think. But let's just go from the beginning, I guess, and then we'll gradually, you know, go through all your story.
Yeah.
What got you into music, and was it always like at a young age, or?
Yeah, I grew up in church, so, you know, just being around the choir that my parents were part of, I think naturally it was just instilled in me to pursue music because I was just always around it. Yeah.
And like, did you have anyone you looked up to, like that was singing at that time, or?
At that time, no, I wouldn't say so, but I think later on in life, I don't know if you guys know who Jessie J is. She's an artist. Jessie J, Bang Bang with Ariana Grande, Nicki Minaj. Yes, she, in my opinion, is like the best vocalist currently. So now I think I would say I look up to her.
So was it that moment where you kind of pinpointed when you wanted to get into music was her, or was there like a passion before?
I think it's just always been there. Like I said, growing up and being around music, I think I've just always known that that's like my calling in life, you know, to be an artist. So I wouldn't necessarily pinpoint it on her, but definitely like throughout, for example, like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, all of them, I would say watching them perform was probably what instilled like the artist dream in me, but not so much like, oh, that's what I want. Like I knew that's what I wanted to do, but seeing them really like solidified it, I think.
Have you always wanted to be a performer, or have you always just wanted to sing? Right? Because like that's kind of a big distinction.
That's a good question. I feel like I don't know. I think just like in general wanting to sing comes with being a performer, like hand in hand for me. So I wouldn't necessarily say like, no, I don't want to be a performer, or like I didn't want to be a performer. I just like wanted to sing all the time. So I guess if that answers the question,
Can you pinpat it to a time when you're like, okay, like I'm actually good at singing? Because you know everyone wants to sing. Like I'm sure he wanted to be a singer too. But then you realize like, okay, I don't got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Monotone.
Like do you remember a time when you're like, okay, like I'm actually good. People like how I sound, or?
Yeah, it was actually in elementary school. I really hope this doesn't make me sound like full of myself because I promise I'm not. But
talk your shit. This is what the podcast is for.
And it's gonna sound so funny because I remember like practicing for a talent show in elementary school. I think it was like a Rihanna song. It was Unfaithful or something. And I was like singing it and I was like thinking to myself, I'm actually doing it like so stupid to talk about, but like in my head I was like, oh my gosh, I sound close to what she's doing. And I think that was like the aha moment for me. And then when I sang in the talent show, like people seemed to like it. So I was like, oh, maybe I am good at this. Yeah.
And like I feel like music in general is something hard to pursue. You know what I mean? Like, was it something that people around you always supported you in making that decision, or was it hard?
No, I would say that I was pretty supported. Hard, I would say, in the sense that I love my mom, but I do feel like growing up, she was very critical of me. So like whenever I would perform, she would just kind of pinpoint the things I did wrong. And I would say that's why it was hard, just because it created this like perfectionist in me, and like this, I was just never happy with like how things went. So I would say that's what was hard about it. But as far as support, I feel like I always had.
It's kind of like a sport. Like I remember playing soccer when I was young, and like you said, like your mom or dad would criticize the things I did wrong and soccer, not the good things. But it's funny how like singing is kind of relatable to a sport as well, like performing, right?
Were you able to overcome that though? That's like...
I mean, I feel like I'm slowly overcoming it, but it definitely has taken a long time just because, you know, with being told like, hey, you did this wrong, you were pitchy here, you were yelling here, or like whatever. Anytime I performed, it became more of like even if I got one note wrong in the whole performance, like I would fixate on that. So it became more of like an obsession of I need to be perfect, even though realistically, like that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
However, on the other hand, I feel like it really did help me just not settle. So like every time I did something, I would like look at things I did wrong and then try to build off of that and be better. Yeah. So like it has its negative, but also positive.
Yeah, in a weird way, like it kind of made you like accept a certain standard and not settle for less.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's sick.
So with singing, what do you think are your strengths and then your weaknesses with it?
I guess I'm not a performer. I wouldn't say that I'm a performer. Like I struggle performing, but like I don't know. I guess I don't know what like my weaknesses per se are, because like I said, every time I feel like I do have a weakness. Also, I don't want to make this sound like I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have any, I'm perfect. No, absolutely not. But like I do try to always analyze my voice, and like I'm always like doing vocal exercises or like just trying to make it better. So I guess I have a lot of weaknesses, but I'm always trying to work on them. But performing is, you went to
school for music, right?
Not for music, but just for like audio.
Like audio. Can you explain a little bit more on that and what that is?
So I went to OAR, the Ontario Institute of Recording Arts Technology. And I think the reason I decided to go there was because being a singer, I worked with a lot of producers when I was starting out who just like were not making my voice sound like what I had envisioned for it to sound like. So then I was like, you know what? I should just do it myself. So then I started like dabbling in producing and working with like Logic, and then that led to me going to OAR and, you know, learning the ins and out of like live sound stuff and in studio stuff, and then also podcast stuff we learned too.
Oh, cool.
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that to like, I guess, people who want to pursue like singing? Is kind of like get the whole how do you say, production side of it, the music side of it, the performing, like just do everything full spectrum. Full spectrum. There we go.
Yeah, I would, just because like the industry is always changing, and if you can't land jobs like just by singing, it's really nice to like have your foot in the door everywhere and kind of be well rounded in that aspect. So yeah, I would.
Have you had any opportunities that came from working as an audio engineer that kind of led you to singing after?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I think people first know me as a singer and then they're like, oh, you're also an audio engineer. Okay. So I feel like not necessarily. Okay. Yeah.
What was your first, like, I guess, like first gig, like or paid performance, or when you knew that you could take this as a career?
For audio engineering
or singing, like the whole music.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I feel like I've been doing this for so long that I can't remember, but I think...
But this whole time you've been like getting paid, doing performances and like making it a career kind of thing?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
It did take a long time though. Like, it's not a very get rich quick place to be, or like career to have, but I guess more recently when I was invited to perform in LA, that was like, I think the highlight of my career, where I was like, okay, like some people know me, you know?
So let's talk about that. Like who reached out to you? How did you get that gig? And
how did you get to LA? Like that's a big spot to be.
So I did this song with this producer. His name's William Edits. So he does like bachata remixes a lot in the States. And we did a remix to the song Adore by Ariana Grande. Yeah. And we made it into a bachata, and it just like blew up in the bachata community. So in LA, there's this like, I don't want to call it a festival. It's like a workshop thing. They invite different artists to do concerts. And so then because that song had taken off, they invited me to perform there. And it was just, I would just describe it as magical. It was a highlight.
What's the reality of being like someone in that, like in the music scene when you get there? What's something that you didn't expect or that kind of surprised you?
I think what surprised me is just because I'm not necessarily like too heavily involved in the scene for music in London. So I think being there, just seeing people know who I was like it was almost like surreal. I was like, are you sure you asked the right person to come? Because I would say that, because like,
do you feel any like imposter syndrome where you're like, okay, like...
Absolutely. Absolutely. I still feel imposter syndrome. Like anytime anyone will like message me or like comment on stuff, I'm like, this is just me. Like I'm nothing special. So it's definitely like heavy on the imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And then where else in the world have you like gone to perform and do your music?
I went to El Salvador. I was there for 3 months touring, but it wasn't as Zanah. It was like this group asked me to be like the lead singer for their group because they were doing like a, what do you call it?
Covers kind of thing?
No, they were like a band that was pretty famous in El Salvador in the 90s. They were doing a comeback tour. That's what the word is.
And then they just reached like they reached you online, like through your social media. They're just like, hey, like, can you join us? Or
no, there's like some of their members live in Canada, so from mutual friends, like I knew some of them, and then they asked me to join.
Okay, cool. And then you just hopped on a plane, and 3 months you're out there.
3 months.
Wow.
Yep. And this was right before COVID too.
Were you ever out there before this?
No, that was my first time.
That's crazy.
Can you take us through that experience, like how it was, especially during that time? Like what happened? Where'd you go? Like,
so I think it was kind of a culture shock to some extent for me because, well, first of all, I had never done anything like TV interviews or radio interviews or anything like that. So even just taking that experience, I think was like really beneficial for me because it taught me and opened my eyes to like what the media is like. However, I think negative things I learned from that is like just how harsh people can be and judging. Like when you're in front of an audience, like people judge you for every tiny little thing, and it was like pretty intimidating.
Like what were some experiences that you've had where you felt like you were being judged?
Yeah, well, for starters, a lot of people just thought I was Canadian. Like they didn't think I was Spanish or Salvadorian. Latina, so like
because you're El Salvadorian, your background, right? El Salvadorian.
Yes, okay. Both parents are Salvadorian.
Yes.
So I'm
team,
full Salvadorian.
team over here.
Yes,
the best. Yo, Team Nika over here forever.
But yeah, that was a huge thing. They were like, "Oh, you guys should have picked a Salvadorian." Or another thing was, it used to be an all-male group, so the fact that now there was a female who was Canadian, people weren't having it.
But they thought you were Canadian because of like your accent when you were speaking Spanish, or because your complexion, or why did they think you were Canadian? Or they just knew because you were on a plane from Canada?
I think like some of the people in the group like said we're bringing someone from Canada, so that because I would say that my Spanish is pretty good.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say it's perfect.
Yeah, so I don't think that was the cause, but definitely because it had been said that I was Canadian.
It's funny because when I go to El Salvador, I can't speak Spanish, so my grandpa goes, "Yo, pretend like you're mute, yo, like because your Spanish is so like horrible." But no, your Spanish is good.
It's great. It's crazy that you have to actually live through that because like
I know.
I wanted to ask you, so when you were traveling with this group, were you singing in Spanish or English?
Just Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was the transition from like singing Spanish or just singing English? Is it hard for you? Is it something that you adapt well to?
I would say that I adapt well to it just because, again, growing up in church, I only sang in Spanish. So before I ever like became Zanah, it was mostly Spanish stuff. So yeah, it was pretty nostalgic, I'd say.
Yeah.
What made you choose Zanah?
It was actually a long process. Back in 2014, I was considered getting signed on like a record deal, and during that time, they kind of instilled like you need to change your name because they're like, Susana Rodriguez sounds like an old 50-year-old woman, so you need to change it to make it more appealing. I didn't agree, but looking back in hindsight, like it is kind of long, and artist names need to be like easy and quick to remember. So for years I was like changing my Instagram handle and like going through different names just to like find the perfect one.
What'd you go through? What are some names that you went through?
It was all like derivatives of Susanna, just like spelled differently, so it's not even that like creative or anything.
But can you get some though? Come on.
It was like Susanna with an H and then like Susanna with 2 N's, like really dumb things, not creative.
Just to separate yourself from like just Susanna. Okay.
Yeah, and then like dropped the last name, but then randomly, I want to say like around the time when I went to El Salvador, so like in 2019 is when Zanah happened, and it's just the second half of my name, like Susanna. Zanah. So I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a different person? Like is Zanah like a different, I don't know how to say it right now, but like
Hannah Montana.
Yeah, kind of exactly. No, but straight up, that's kind of where I'm thinking. Like when you're Susanna or when you're Zanah, like what's the difference in that?
Yeah, I do feel like it's 2 different people. I feel like, especially for people who know me just as Zanah, I feel like there's parts of me as Susanna that they don't know. I would say Zanah's more of like the artistic side of me, whereas Susanna is like the behind the scenes person. So like producing, audio engineering, being a mom, like all these other things. Yeah.
It's amazing.
How often are you like creating? Like, do you have a schedule where like I want to release this much music a month, or like, or does it just come naturally to you? Are you planning this stuff, or?
I think for a while I was planning, but I kind of stepped back from that because I hit a lot of like creative block, and then just went through some stuff in life where I needed to take a step back from it because it was, you know, just like being in the studio all the time. I was like, it was just getting to be too much for me. Like I just couldn't think of things. Like my mind was blocked. So yeah, I don't have a schedule anymore, but I definitely did. I think now it's just like, it could be like 3 a.m. and I'm in my bed and I'm like, oh, I just like thought of like a hook for a song or like an idea, and then I'll just go record it really roughly and quickly on my computer and then like call it.
So like when the ideas pop up, that's when you're kind of noting them down, and that's what they say is the best thing. Like when you, as a creative, like even podcasts or like creating content for your business, like as soon as an idea touches your head, you have to write it down right away, or else that shit will go.
Well, I want to ask you, since you, like you said, do you have a setup at home?
I do.
Yeah. So like when it comes to you just kind of run in that room and kind of get it done.
Usually, like if I'm not able to do it right away, I'll just like the notes, or what is it?
The voice notes it.
On my phone.
That's
like
awesome.
That's my best friend. And then I'll just like, when I have the time, run downstairs and then record it. Yeah.
So you brought up that you're a mom. How hard is it to juggle like trying to be like an artist and then also being a mother at the same time?
It's crazy hard. Yeah, just because I feel like I'm being split into two. So I'm like, I need to be giving like my full attention to my kids, but then I'm also like needing to make content and needing to do this, that, and the third. So it's definitely hard. And I would say that's probably another big reason why I've like taken kind of a step back. Yeah, it's hard to
Do you feel like it's a superpower in a way at this point though? Because you're trying to juggle these two things and like...
I guess that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah.
Do they like your music? Do they listen to your music?
They do. Yeah.
That's cute.
When I was in El Salvador, like my mom would play the videos of like my interviews and my performances, and my son was like always making everybody clap.
That's
amazing. I saw your last video and it really hit home for me, to be honest. Like your last video you posted on YouTube with the I think it was the BTS shoot, right? Yeah, could you I guess elaborate a little bit on what happened and what took place on the day of the shoot?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I'm also Christian. Being Christian is like a big part of who I am. And I have like something called TMJ. Well, TMJ is like what the muscle is called, but like I have issues with my TMJ muscle. So
could you explain that? What's TMJ?
Yeah, so it's like your jaw muscles, and sometimes like if you grind your teeth at night from stress, it's hard to like chew or like open your mouth, and you'll have like clicking noises. It's just like a weird thing that some people have. But that day that we were supposed to shoot this video, I woke up, a week before we were supposed to shoot, I woke up and like I just couldn't open my mouth at all, which is not something that has happened to me before. And like I'm talking so shut, you know, brioche bread, like it's like super soft, like a cloud. I could not even bite down on that. Like it was so bad. And then I was gonna say no, because I was like, I can't even open my mouth. Like, how am I supposed to sing? But then something inside of me was like, no, do it. And I like really wanted to do it. So I went to the day of the shoot, and then I was like nervous because I'm like, I'm going to open my mouth and like try to sing. And
you were the main singer, right?
I was.
So,
well, we did 2 songs. I was leading like one.
But you were like the leader, like the voice and stuff.
Okay.
So it's crazy. Imagine like on that Monday, your mouth is like shut, frozen, and then Friday you have to perform.
I couldn't even imagine.
Couldn't
imagine.
It was so scary. But then I don't know if you guys like believe in God or whatever, but
I do.
No, we do.
Yeah.
I do.
We've had convos about
100%.
Yeah, 100%. There's no chance there's no God.
Yes.
That's the best way to put it.
Exactly. So like that day, I opened my mouth to sing, and like it's like nothing had ever happened. Like my voice was just, it was just happening. It was like, and I've said this before, and I said it in that video that I posted, but it was literally an out of body experience because like it was almost like I was like in my head watching myself sing and like hearing myself sing, but like I know 1000% it was not me, because like I couldn't. And as soon as I stopped and the song ended, like I was back to not being able to open my mouth. So like it was just.
So was that Zanah, or was it like, you know what I mean? Like
no, that was God.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
No, but it's crazy because like I saw the video and like I saw you explain that whole story and how you felt like, you know, like God was there present with you, helping you throughout that video, you know what I mean? And I see your face on the video, and it looked like you were singing normally. You were just very passionate. It looked like it was part of it, you know what I mean? So it's crazy. Yeah, I really liked that video, by the way, and
Thank you.
and I do believe in God, and I think that is important. You said the whole team was praying like for you before that, and then
Yeah.
boom, you put a performance. That's
Mhm.
crazy.
Wild.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you about your duets. Why was that something you got really into?
I think because for a while I was really focused on like covers and stuff, and that kind of is covers too, but I noticed that it was like popping off on TikTok, so I'm like always trying to find ways of like how can I incorporate what I'm doing with like what's trending. So then I figured it was a good way to get myself out there and get myself noticed, and it was fun, so I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Are you posting content like on many platforms? Like which platforms are you actively on, and how do you schedule your content creation?
I would say I'm most active on TikTok at the moment. I've noticed Instagram changing a little bit over the years. Like, it kind of feels like people just watch you on Instagram instead of engaging, versus like TikTok. I feel like there's more engagement, so I've really leaned into that, and YouTube Shorts too, because it seems like there's a lot of engagement there. And as far as planning, I wouldn't say that I have like a set schedule per se, but I definitely try to be consistent and active just to like keep my followers engaged.
Because you have a pretty big community like of people who follow you.
Well,
right?
It's not too big, but
But
it's
it's
big.
big,
It's
though.
small.
It
It's
is.
growing.
It is though. Like
Yeah.
I always say this. Like for example, you 10,000 followers on or subscribers on YouTube or Instagram, whatever. If you put them in a room, you automatically
Yeah.
like are like, oh shit, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people watching us, right? So
That's true.
I know we've had that moment too with Nüvida and stuff.
It's coming.
Mhm.
I want to ask you: is there any fans that you've like engaged with, like over your whole like development that you're still kind of friends with, kind of thing, or anything like that?
Yeah. There's like a couple. I can't even name them by name because like I know them by their Instagram handle, but they've been like ride or die day ones.
Wow.
Like always engaging, always sharing. Yeah, it's cool.
Does that push you in any way to keep it going?
Yeah.
In a way?
Definitely. It's cool to see that like my small little input in life like has an effect on somebody else that doesn't even know me as a person, so it's definitely encouraging.
Yeah. What's your why? Like why do you do this? Why do you keep on pushing? Like
I feel like a few years ago I would not have been able to answer that, but I feel like now, especially after what happened with like the recent music video that I did with Emmaus Road, I just feel like it's my God-given gift that I have, and like I just feel like this is my calling in life, to bring people closer to God or to feel loved, because we're missing so much love in this earth. And this world is crazy, so I just feel like if I can add light and love into the world with the gift that God gave me, then like that's what I want to
I
do.
think it's really cool because like I feel like you said you started singing at the church, and then to go X amount of years after, then realize I should be singing like about God and spreading that positivity. That's super special.
Have you ever had a song or like something that you wanted to dedicate to God, kind of in a way? Like,
I think now like there's been a shift. So people who like follow me and watch me closely probably have seen that I haven't really posted like original music recently, just because there's been a shift where I've started leaning more into the Christian stuff. And I think because I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like, God gave me this gift, and I feel like I need to be showing that in my music. So like if you listen to my old stuff, like you hear my music and you don't really know who I am as a person, but since I'm like Christian and that's like big in my life, I feel like now going forward I want, even if it's not like in your face like gospel music, I would like my faith to be reflected and who I am as a whole to be reflected like in my music. So I guess like I would start dedicating songs to God from this point on.
But no, that's cool how you said like the best art is when it comes naturally, and it comes from like who you are, right? So I feel like you're kind of now becoming the artist that you know you are, you feel you are, and I can't wait for the bangers to come out, bro. So what's coming out in January?
I have 2 songs coming out, well possibly 3, because I have some collabs that I'm expecting to be out. There are more R&B tracks that I have like in the vault, but I've just had them there for so long sitting that I'm like, you know what, I think it's finally time to release it and show the world.
Go ahead.
So like going back to like you have stuff in the vault, how much do you really have in the vault, and like so then what's stopping you from putting it out? Is it the perfectionist that we were talking about earlier? Is it maybe like a production? Kind of bring us through that.
I think it's just 100% the perfection, and that's why I said earlier like it's both a blessing and a curse, because I think I'm learning to delegate because I'm also an audio engineer and a producer. I feel like I'm so attached to my projects where I'm like, I need to do everything. Like, I need to make sure this, but sometimes, like, for example, somebody told me once a race car driver is the race car driver, and you need your like pit team or your pit crew or whatever to make the race go. And you can still win the race, or sorry, you can still be in the race if it's just you, but you won't win and you won't make it very far. So I think learning to just delegate and involve other people in my process has been my biggest issue, because then I'm sitting there with my project and I'm like, oh no, this isn't good enough. This needs work. Like, I can do this better. I'm just like always like, I can do this better, and then like I obsess over it, and then it
never
just stays
goes
in
out.
the vault. Yeah.
What's your team looking like now? Is it just you? Do you have people that you like bouncing off of? Like,
yeah, there was a few people that I bounce ideas off of. I guess I'll give them a shout out.
Yeah, let's do it.
My friend Josh, also Rains, and Jeff. I know a lot of people from their artist names and their Instagram handles, so I'm like trying to figure out who it is. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of people who have encouraged me. Eleanor, yeah.
Do you what is your biggest fear about putting up music? Is it the fact that like people won't receive it how you want it to be received, or is it the fact that maybe it's not exactly what you thought it'd be at that moment?
I would say it's a little bit of both. I think the perfectionism comes into play where I'm like, if I listen to something I put out a year later, I'm not the same person anymore and I've evolved. So I'm like, oh, I could have done better. And just like having to hear it, I think like makes me cringe a little bit. I know that sounds horrible and I should just let it go and be okay with it. But yeah, I think that's my biggest struggle.
I like what you said about like the outsourcing, like, because like I read a book called Who Not How. So you go a lot farther by figuring out who can help you instead of how to figure everything out. You know what I mean? Who do you need on your team right now? So if you were to like have an all-star roster of people you could select, like who would you want on your team?
I think even though I love producing, I feel like I would just want to sit in my room, produce something, and like write up a rough idea and then hand it off to an audio engineer, hand it off to someone to perfect it. That way I don't have to sit and do like the surgical work of stuff.
Right? Yeah, that's all you need, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And I don't mind doing that for other people, but when I'm the artist, it's hard. So I think just having an audio engineer and a producer on my team to just throw my ideas
Is London, Ontario like full of that sort of talent, or?
I think so.
Yeah, because like, I was gonna say like I feel like a lot of different places around the world have like a bigger scene when it comes to like music, like even sports, for example, like the States kills like the NFL compared to the CFL. It's like day and night, you know?
Or even to just the college teams, right? Like college teams fill up a whole city, right? Like some cities just live off of college.
So do you think there's a lot of growth for music here in London, Ontario?
I do think there's a lot of room for growth. There's definitely a lot of, I think, like myself, artists who like are from London and based in London, but then they also have fans who aren't from London. And you know the saying goes like, a preacher can't preach in their own like town or whatever. So like you talk and you're doing all this stuff, but people know who you are, so they're like less inclined to support you, which I'm not saying that like people in London don't support, but I think it might be the case for a lot of people, and that's why we don't necessarily hear about. But there's definitely a lot of great artists in the city and a lot of good producers. I think it's just a me problem that I need to learn to delegate.
Question: do you say you're from Toronto or do you say you're from London?
Oh no, no, I'm not from Toronto. I'm from London.
Okay, good. I want to ask, like, what do you think London needs for it to actually kind of get into the music scene?
I think there needs to be more like creative spaces for all genres. Like I've noticed London is big on rock, and like there's a lot of like R&B people or hip hop, and I think there needs to be more spaces and communities to like just nourish that and encourage that.
And like you speak, you sing in Spanish and in English, right? So you have that big impact in like the Latino community as well. Is your like your future songs coming out, are they going to be a mix of both? Are they going to be just Spanish, just English, or
Spanglish?
They're just English.
Just English, yeah. Are you gonna dabble into the Spanish, like? Yeah,
I think just being Salvadorian but born and raised in Canada, part of who I am is. I'm a Spanglish person, so I feel like it'll always be part of my creative process. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take it a little bit another way now. I saw you partying with DJ Pauly D a couple weeks ago. What's going on there? No, oh my goodness. That's like, oh man, I'm gonna out myself, but I posted it just to make it look like it was me in the booth with Pauly, but his girlfriend, she was in the booth with him, and I just like passed by security and like handed her my phone, and then she brought my phone into the booth and recorded. It wasn't me, but like it's still cool.
Yeah, that's still really cool.
Honest,
you
honest,
fooled me.
I know. That was my goal. I was like, if I don't say that I wasn't in the booth, people will probably think. So I was like, whatever. I'm just not gonna say it.
Is there anyone you want to work with? Like let's go first from like engineering wise or producers. Do you have someone that you like specifically want to work with right now?
I think my dream is to work with Charlie Puth. Just, do you know who Charlie Puth is? He's like producer, artist, and he's just so talented. I feel like that would be my dream.
Okay, and then who would you duet with? Since that's something you do.
Who would I duet with? I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like there's just so many people who are so good that, you know, I can't say one person. Yeah.
Okay. When you collab with someone in regards to music, do their interests have to align with yours? Like how do you pick someone you want to make music with?
Yeah.
Or does it just have to be a banger and you're like, yeah, there's like.
I think sometimes, the old me, I say the old me just because of like the changes that I've been going through. But like, I think in the past it didn't really matter as long as, like you said, it was a banger and the beat was good and everything. But now I think I'm more, just because I'm trying to build this like image of myself that aligns with like my values and my morals and my faith. So I definitely take that very heavily into consideration before like just accepting a collab or reaching out to someone.
Do you think it's harder now, especially with like how the music scene's going, to find that type of person that you could work with?
Yeah, I think every day, like, you know how the algorithm works, I've been like shown more people that like are aligned to what I'm doing, but it's definitely been hard. And it's been hard to just even like switch because my fans, they're used to like my non-Christian content. So I feel like it's been a kind of like growing pains to switch over and transition. Yeah.
Like you'll lose some people, sure, but you also gain people other ways, and then you have people who stick it out. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I hear that. That's kind of like even with the podcast, when we decided, we want to change this style, or we want to do this, like, you know, maybe rebrand. Like, you're gonna lose some people, you're gonna
it's just the core will stick with you, right? And it's the new one. You have enough people that will kind of follow in with the people that leave, kind of thing.
That's true.
Is there a song right now that you're really like, that you're super happy that you made and you're passionate about?
Or what's your favorite song maybe that you've made?
My favorite song? I think my favorite song will probably be the one that's one of the songs that's releasing in January.
Do you have a title? No, not yet.
I do. It's called Honey. A lot of people have heard it, so I'm sure they'll be like, finally.
Can you give us a little bit of it?
No,
I won't. Can you sing us a little bit?
Yeah.
I won't, just because I'm a little bit sick, so I don't really want to sing, but I'll show you guys after so that you guys can get a sneak peek.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
With singing, like, that actually reminded me of a question. It's like, how often are you losing your voice? And like is that a thing that happens a lot?
Yeah. For me, I feel like when I'm stressed, like highly stressed, my voice will just like get raspy or like I'll lose it a little bit. But also like having kids. When they were in kindergarten, like literally the entire school year they were sick, so I was sick, so that made it really tough for me. But now that they're out of kindergarten, I feel like it's getting better. Yeah,
that's tough. I can't even imagine.
Have the kids taken on to the music at all? Like, are they singers?
I am pretty sure they are. Yeah. Like sometimes my daughter will sing and I'll try to give her like little tips and tricks here and there, and she'll be like, I got it. Like, I know how to do it. I'm like, okay, you got it. And they're pretty good. Yeah.
That's awesome. What advice would you give to someone who's trying to like follow your suit? You know what I mean? And like, you know, go all in on music, do the production, travel around the world to do stuff that you like.
Yeah. I would say just be true to yourself. I think one thing that's obviously cliche. Everybody says that, but I think people take you more seriously as an artist when you're like genuinely yourself and they can see through it. Like they can see through this facade of like putting on a show or like putting up a front. But if you're genuinely and authentically yourself, I think it just draws people in for the right reasons and it helps you go farther like in longevity. Yeah.
And is this something you think that you're going to pursue to the end? Like
I feel like I've made it almost 27 years doing this. So if I backtrack now, I don't know what I would do. So yes.
I love it. And then what is, I guess, where do you see yourself in a year or two? Or like, what are those milestones you want to continue to crush?
Yeah. I guess I would see myself hopefully having like an album out. I've never put out an album before. No, it's just
so you
been
have enough
singles
songs to do that?
I think so, but I think also along with things in the vault, it would be like new things that I write. Yeah, but
dope.
hopefully I'll be there.
2024.
Yep.
We'll have an album release.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
We're invited to the album release party.
Of course.
You should. What's your writing process like though? Like, does it just kind of you have to sing it first, then you'll write it down, or do you not write anything down?
No, I don't write. The writing doesn't even start until like the song is pretty much complete. So I think because I'm a producer, I'm not one of those people.
You heard that, right?
You
heard
the
that
beat first,
Yeah.
and then you write?
She does everything, then she writes it.
It comes again. It's being a perfectionist. Like I can't just be one of those like, oh, I'll play it on the piano, or well, I'm not saying that's like a bad thing, because obviously that's been tried and tested throughout time, so it works.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I need to hear, like, I think it's also because I'll start the beat and then I'll just get carried away and then I'll finish the beat. So I'm like, okay, now I have the beat.
Yeah.
And then like I'll go on top of the beat and just like sing random things, and then from those like random things I'll pick what things I like the most, and then like I'll comp them together.
So you produce the beat also though, right?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I remember like back in like my SoundCloud days.
White trucks and white trucks.
Yeah, white trucks and white chucks. I actually have a song. Anyways, I would write it down first, my rap or whatever, and then I'll try to like make
fit the
music
beat around
it. That's really cool how like you're making your whole like sound first, and then you're okay, I'm gonna fill my lyrics in there.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really dope.
I feel
Have you
like
always
I've
done it like
tried.
that? You've always
I've tried in the past to, well, okay, sometimes I'll have like a random like line idea, so then I'll, like I said, record that on my voice notes app and then go into it. But I think what works for me is making the beat and then singing on top of it, because it just like hearing the beat like almost like inspires me into like, okay, I want to sing about this, or
And when you make your songs, are you trying to make them so other people can relate to them, or are you just genuinely putting out whatever you want to put out and then see what hits?
I think it is mostly just seeing what hits. Yeah. I think I'm less. My mom used to tell me this all the time, like, you need to sing what people want to hear, but like maybe it's me being rebellious that I was like, no, I want to sing like what I want to sing. But I think it's just, if people resonate with like what I've gone through and experiences that I've had, then great. Yeah.
Dope.
Do you feel like you'd want to tell a story through a song, especially the way you sing, right? Because it's very like, I don't know how to say it. It's like almost poetic in a way. Like you could actually kind of speak to what your life is. Would you put out a song like that?
I actually have written a song that talked about a lot of things that I went through, like when I was pregnant with my first daughter. It was just a really rough time in my life, but I think I've just been scared to put it out because I'm like,
unreleased.
It's
in the vault.
Yeah, it's in the vault.
Ooh, fuck, I want to see
better
that
be
vault
on the
so
album.
bad.
Better be on the album.
I think it's just scary to let people in. Like, I'm talking about like, be authentic, be yourself, but truly it's scary to talk about things, because like, you know, I'm facing the fear of like, are people gonna judge me, or like I don't want people to talk about the people that have been involved in my life during that time if they know who they are.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like, I think there's
it's very
a fear
vulnerable for you to
behind
put
it.
out a track like that.
Yeah, but I definitely want to, because I know that there's people who have gone through things that I've gone through, that hearing these things would be like almost there. Even recording it for me was like therapeutic, and I know it would help people. So definitely something I want to do, but I'm struggling.
I heard this one saying, and it was like this one guy was asking this famous guy, he's like, how are you able to take on so much hate and so much negative comments, like, because you get a lot of those when you put out your content, and the guy's like, if that's the price I have to pay to make an impact, I'll pay that price any day.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like yeah, that song, like, it was super vulnerable for you, but I feel like that impact will really hit, you know?
Yeah,
and we're gonna listen to it when it comes
I know,
out.
I'm excited. Even too, right after this podcast, I want to hear the vault.
No, but that's special though, man. Like how music is, how you found it therapeutic for you too. Like honestly, like what other like profession or job or something that you can distribute in a wide manner, and if you're creating it, like, it's weird how it's therapeutic for you too. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's rare. I think that's really rare.
Even too, music is like, I don't know, like I always said this, and people will take it however they want. It's like music and religion, they're two things that like people just grasp onto, and like you can say I like this music or I like my religion, they'll stick to it by to their guns, right? But when you meld those two, it's like, it's such a beautiful unison, because it's who you are almost in a way, and it just kind of carries you through.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that. I guess I like want to share a little bit about like my flip between like wanting to do more Christian stuff. Well, first of all, like that jaw thing that happened, I was invited to like perform at this concert in New York back in March, and then this is gonna make me sound like it's gonna be wild because like
gas yourself up. I want to hear it.
No, so I'm like everything is set. They sent me the contract, like I was about to send it back signed and like send pictures of myself for promo and stuff. And then again, this is like a big God thing because like I'm a big God girl. So but I just like heard him saying like, no, don't go. So I was like, okay. So then I just kind of blindly followed it and I was like, okay, that was obviously from God. Like I felt it to my core. It was God saying like, no, don't go. So I didn't. And I said like, sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it. And then I canceled. And then after that, I just like, I had this dream. I'm not going to go too into it, but basically it was like a dream that like shook me to my core because it like showed me that I had an assignment and a gift that God gave me to do here on my time on earth. And if I didn't do it, like there was going to be bad consequences to put it nicely. So that kind of just like was what shifted. And then when I sat down in my studio to try to like write something Christian, like my keyboard stops working and then my jaw stops working and like all these things that just like confirmed to me like, okay, this is definitely.
And this is all within like a span of like a week or so, like, or is this like spread out kind of like 3 little signs that are the separate occasions kind of thing?
Not really. Like the piano thing happened maybe 2 weeks before the jaw thing happened, so it was like back to back to back. Yeah. It was
Does that
bad.
scare you, or are you like, do you take it as like a sign? You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I guess like my question is like, and it relates to yours. That's why I'm saying this is like, how often are you practicing like your spirituality? How often are you building that? Because if you're able to get these sort of like feelings or connections, then you must have a good foundation in that regards.
I would say 90% of my week revolves around something.
That's
with my
amazing.
Faith.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like my shift and my confirmation. So it was scary. But like kind of exciting at the same time because I'm like, okay, Satan's trying to stop me and I'm not gonna be stopped. So it was definitely kind of cool at the same time.
I was reading this book called Outwitting the Devil, and it's like, holy, that guy exists everywhere, bro. Like in the spots where you would not even think, you know what I mean? Like for example, like when you think you can't do something that you clearly can, that's that doesn't come from God, you know what I mean? That's coming from the devil being like, oh, you're not good enough, you can't do this.
So
it's in a slimy way, yo. Slimy way. Like even when you're praying, bro, and you catch yourself begging, that's not like coming from God, because you're not supposed to beg like that. Like that's just like the devil making you feel like you have to beg. Like with God, you should have the faith that things will be good, and you're kind of more not like, you're not like, you're kind of saying thanks. You're kind of like speaking in like with statements and being confident that he hears you and that there's faith there. Not this begging thing, you know what I mean? But like the devil does work very slimy, bro. Like the Grinch who stole Christmas. You know? Literally.
That's amazing to put it. Have you found like you've gone further the more you've attached yourself to God and kind of given yourself like
absolutely
the ability to like believe that this is your following, or not following, but your calling?
My calling, absolutely. I think like once I made that decision, I'm not gonna lie, there was like, I like to call it my grieving period, just because like I had worked towards being this artist and like making it all about me for such a long time that when I decided to take a different path, it was almost like I was leaving that behind and almost like letting people down, because they're like, oh, you gave up on your dream, which I didn't. It's just different now, but like that's how it felt. Sorry, what was the question? I just forgot.
No, it's like ever since you kind of gave yourself to God, did you find like everything is like going better? Essentially, is the best way to put it.
Well, I would not say better. I would definitely say after I like decided to give my life to God, things have been like shambles, is how I would say. But I know that, like, for example, they talk about, you know, a diamond is not made with like no pressure. Like you need pressure. You need to be in the heat of things to be refined and be like what you're meant to be. So I feel like that's the process I'm going, not to say like, you know, whatever, but like I think that's the process that happens when you decide to follow God and like live your life based on your faith. But yeah, in the other sense, I wouldn't say easier, but definitely I've noticed that like when I decided to trust God with my life, opportunities just like presented themselves to me that I didn't even have to look. Like I had someone offer me a job and said that somebody gave them my resume, and like I didn't even apply for this job, and it was like my dream job. Things like that. It's just like time and time. God is so good. Like
it's like the more you open up that door, the more the world works with you. You know what I mean? Because like somehow you found that little canal where you're like, okay, I'm in.
100% true.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's why like a lot of people say, oh, like manifest. I believe that manifestation is through prayers and God. Like, you know what I mean? Like I do believe that as a human we do have the power to control the surroundings around us, but I only think that that's possible through God. Like not through like I'm gonna have a vision for it and manifest this and this. Okay, don't get me wrong, like sure, but like it's like for me that's what my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it helps, but it doesn't get the job done in a way.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because like even I could go back to like a time like this is when Simba was 1, so like 2 years ago, my dog Simba. So like he's like I think it was 2-3 years ago, right before COVID. I got my dog Simba, and that's when I went through my transformation as well. I was always religious, but like, you know, there comes a time in the middle where you kind of learn life. You kind of do your own thing. You know, you let wrong things guide you. Sure, it's an experience. And then it wasn't until every single day I would walk with Simba in the forest and pray the rosary. After doing that for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, it was just like, damn, like what I've been missing this my whole time. Like I felt so good. Things started happening to me. Like things got better with my wife and I, like even the properties, the goals were actually happening. Why? Because I feel like I went all in on that. So that's why I really enjoy talking to you about that sort of thing. Cause like it's kind of rare and hard to find people who like just admit it, like that it is what it is. Like it is what it is. Like, you know,
I feel like, sorry.
Good on you.
I was just going to say, I feel like there's so many negative connotations when it comes to like being religious or whatever, that's what makes it so hard to be bold about it. But yeah, I don't like to say I'm religious. I'm just a Christian. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, nowadays it's a very tough world to live in and express these sort of thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially on a podcast.
Right? I know.
we talk about everything. And
and it's hard too, because like whatever you say, everyone will judge you, but like you have to kind of stick to your guns and just say it.
Yeah. When like you don't care anymore when you post and people see, right? Like did you just got over that fear of like fuck
posting
it?
Ghost?
Or do you still kind of get nervous?
I feel like I do post and ghost recently. I've been doing that a lot. Like I'll just post it and like whatever happens. I don't want to see it. I don't want to like obsess over what people are saying or anything, but I definitely have gotten more bolder, and I wouldn't say it's because of me. I like to credit God. Definitely gives me the confidence to be able to do so, because in the past I feel like I've always been involved with my faith, but it's been the fear of like, oh, people are, every time I post something Christian I lose like 10 followers. I'm like, I'm gonna lose followers, like people are gonna think I'm weird or whatever, but at the end of the day, when I die, I'm not gonna bring my followers with me, so I'm like yeah, that's true. You can't get more real than that.
Especially with social media, do you have any fears with social media as you climb as like an artist, like maybe like your past life, like some that like maybe will come back to haunt you later?
Yeah, I think when people like grow on social media, like everything, even like people they're related to, things get attached to them. So I think maybe not for me, but like I don't know, maybe something has happened in my family or like anything that I think that scares me a little bit. Like I don't know, people just like, sometimes people even make up wild things or like try to extort you or do whatever. You just never know with people, so I think like it's always scary even if you don't have anything to hide.
What are your thoughts on AI in music? Like, have you ever plugged in your vocals on some AI machine?
No, but it's funny that you say that, because like I was telling you earlier how like I've had Ariana Grande comparisons. People have gone as far as to take my covers that I've done that have nothing to do with Ariana Grande and say, oh, it's an AI Ariana Grande in Spanish. Like they'll say, and these things have blown up on TikTok. Like I'm talking hundreds and thousands of views.
That's
people are
crazy.
like, oh my God, it's Ariana Grande AI. Yeah.
And it's you.
It's me. I'm like, this is crazy. Yeah.
Does that feel good, or do you feel like mad about it? Like,
I'm not going to lie, I'm a little salty about it, because I did that and it has nothing to do with Ariana Grande, so it's annoying that people.
And, you know, some people are benefiting off that.
Exactly.
Like, and they're making a lot
of Do you feel like would be endearment for like being compared to Ariana Grande?
I will say she's amazing, so it's not like it's an insult. Like it's definitely like, I think she's amazing, so it's like I wouldn't say proud to have that comparison, but like it's definitely a compliment for sure. But I think what comes attached to being compared to her is what I don't like. Like people will be like, oh, she's trying to sound like Ariana Grande, or like people will be like hating in the comments saying like, she sounds nothing like Ariana Grande, she's so bad, or like all but it's like, I'm not even trying.
Not even
so
trying.
frustrating.
It's It's funny, yo. I was a couple days ago. I was at the Eras tour with my little sister. It was in the movie theaters. It was relaxed. It wasn't actually there. Taylor Swift, your favorite girl. Bro.
You went?
Yeah, bro.
Without me?
Absolute bangers. I'm telling you right now, bro.
I
did
you.
not realize how many songs I knew.
I told you,
Taylor
Swifties.
Swift.
The Swifties
every
are.
Song there. My shoulders like this. I'm like,
What I say to you? Remember?
Yeah.
I told you the Swifties are up.
But it's just wild, like how like she dominates music. I don't know why I brought that up, but like it's just like we're talking about Ariana Grande, all these like big like female artists. Like it's just like when they can sing, perform, and do all that, it's like you're actually amazed by what a human can do. You know what I mean? Like, honestly,
you went to watch it, eh?
Yeah, bro. With my little sister. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Probably went by himself.
No. But yeah, yo. I guess is there anything like else, Zanah, you want to get off your chest or let the people know?
No, I guess all I would say is just look out for the new 2.0 Zanah and the
January?
stuff that I'll be dropping January.
In January, and then maybe album 2024.
Possibly album
Please.
2024.
Please.
Maybe some live performances.
If
Or
you
even an
release
EP.
an album,
Do an EP at least. Give us something. Give us
Come on the
something.
pod to promote it, okay?
Okay,
We'll have you on
I would
like
like
soon,
that.
and then we'll promote the shit out of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Sweet. Coca.
No, man. I honestly, it was amazing talking to you. It was, to be honest, a great insight. I hope the best for you is the best way to put it.
Yeah. And for all those who watched thus far, thank you, and make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. And thanks, Zanah, for having us or for coming over. All right. Peace, guys. Cheers.